So welcome and good morning, and thank you for joining me today for this interview. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate you and the entire team on winning the Microscopy Today 2021 Innovation Award for the DENSsolutions Climate system. So what was your reaction when you first heard the news?
It was pretty exciting. You can imagine the entire team was very happy when we heard the news. At the end of the day, I think that this is just another consequence of the amazing teamwork that prevails in this company. And of course, to be accredited by the MSA is a big honor, especially because this is an extremely esteemed award within the community, right? So that really means a lot to us. I mean, we really think and we feel confident that our technology, and particularly the system that is getting awarded, the climate, will help scientists to explore all sort of new research possibilities, and that's something that we're really looking forward to.
Yeah, I can imagine it was quite exciting, especially after winning STREAM,
same
award. So
that's a big honor, certainly.
So what unique aspects of the system do you think made it earn such an esteemed award?
So you can imagine that over the last months, we've been putting a lot of effort to make sure that we can improve the climate system from various different angles, right? So that means that we've been doing a lot of work to make sure that we can optimize the different components that make up this plug-and-play system, which is a climate. And that means that we've been trying to boost, for example, our MEMS capabilities, so the nanoreactor, making sure that we can continuously improve our hardware components, so the gas supply system, the vaporizer, the mass spec, and of course making sure that we can have new solutions as well for the software platform. Now, when you put all this together, what we ended up realizing was that this new optimized climate system brings all sort of real unique aspects to someone's research. For example, the possibility of performing live gas mixing, or in other words, making sure that you can achieve any desired gas composition instantaneously, and ensuring that customers won't have to wait for this gas mixture to be prepared. That's a big added value. And we see this big added value because there are experiments, like for example redox reactions, where the intrinsic nature of the experiment demands the possibility to go from an oxidizing environment to a reducing environment, and many times people have to do this back and forth in a fast and repetitive way. So that is something that the system will enable you to do. And now furthermore, a lot of people, as part of these experiments, they would be interested in humidifying the gas composition, right? So the vaporizer. Now what happens here is that when you're humidifying the gas, often people are scared of the contamination that the water molecules would represent for the gas lines. And that's why systems have to be baked, or they have to undergo lengthy pumping times. But that wouldn't be the case with our system, because we designed the vaporizer in such a way that the introduction of the water vapor is literally the last thing that we do before the nanoreactor. So that ensures that your gas lines, your gas supply system will remain clean, that you don't have to do these baking procedures, that you don't have to keep it pumping overnight. And that ensures that you can go from a dry environment to a wet environment, or from the wet environment back to the dry environment in just a few minutes. So it opens up a lot of possibilities because it gives this flexibility. The fact that we're dealing with extremely low volumes of gas also means that we can safely handle explosive mixtures, even if you're going to do this under extreme conditions, right? High temperatures, so being able to go above 1,000 degrees in combination with high pressures, 2 bars, in combination with, for example, 100% relative humidity. So the nice thing about this is that not only you can safely handle these explosive mixers, for example, but controlling the relative humidity is independent of the temperature, the pressure, the gas composition, the flow rates. So having these independent controls also brings a lot of flexibility to the users. Now the nanoreactor, for example, is something also very unique, because we have been optimizing heavily the design, so that, for example, the microheater allows for real nanocalorimetry. And this is really unique, because this means that customers can really start quantifying and measuring the tiniest changes in temperature dissipation to understand if you're going through an exothermic or an endothermic reaction. And this is also really beneficial, because you can calibrate for time delay, which is an issue that systems usually suffer from, because unavoidably there's going to be some delay from the gas supply system to the MEMS device, from the MEMS device to the mass spec. We can calibrate for that. And the nanoreactor itself, its unique design where we also have a patent, ensures that we can have on-chip inlet and outlet. In other words, we can ensure that the gas will flow from this inlet to the outlet via the sample, the region of interest, in a unidirectional way. And that means that we can prevent bypasses, and therefore this increases the signal-to-noise ratio, this improves the signal-to-noise ratio, and the sensitivity of the gas analyzer. So, you know, these kind of added values, the fact that the MEMS device can go to these high pressures, 2 bar for example, allows you to go to, to perform EDS experiments well above 900 degrees in combination with the highest pressures. This combination of factors end up bringing a very unique value proposition for the user.
Yeah. You know, going back, what inspired you and the entire team to develop Climate in the first place?
So certainly understanding the importance and the impact that environmental studies can have on our global society was a big source of inspiration for the entire team. Having said that, understanding the solid-gas interactions at the nanoscale is what sets the foundation so that these customers or these scientists can really start understanding how to optimize and synthesize future catalytic nanoparticles, which will end up playing a crucial role in applications like carbon capture, energy storage and conversion, or food production, for example. So it is really this detailed information, this profound information that we can get from in situ TEM that gives this understanding, because when you can start correlating particle size with composition, with crystal orientation, with the atomic or the electronic structure, that really gives a very deep level of understanding for all these kind of experiments.
Yeah, and on the same note, maybe you can walk us through the development process of the system. Tell us what that looked like.
Sure. So it's been 5-6 years ever since we launched our first product line for in situ gas analysis. And ever since, what we've been doing is we've been trying to make sure that we can stay as close as we can to the customers. But not only the customers, also the prospects. Now, the intention of doing that is when you start gathering the feedback and the vision that these people have, you start understanding a little bit more the pain points. You start becoming more empathic to their experimental needs. And that helps us to identify the product profile that we should have in place. And when you know this product profile, then automatically you know what technologies have to be developed. And that's your roadmap. That's part of your roadmap, right? And when you have these in place, then you also know what people, what processes have to be involved. So it's a matter of doing that, so that when you gather these market requirements, we can follow a defined product creation process that will allow us to develop a technology that will match these market requirements.
Yeah, and you know, briefly you mentioned a couple of application examples, and maybe you can just elaborate on which of those applications do you think will benefit most?
Yeah, so I mean, nowadays we see that our customers are using the climate system mostly for catalysis. So we see that there's a lot of people using the system, the technology, to understand the structure property relationship, right? To try to synthesize new nanoparticles, see this process in situ, try to identify how the environmental conditions play a role. We see people doing de-wetting studies, etc., etc. But we also see that there's a lot of people using the technology or the product, for example, for graphene studies, to understand how you can synthesize the graphene, carbon nanotubes. And more recently, we start seeing that there's an increasing interest for people to perform nuclear research, for example, corrosion studies, understand what could be the future materials that would replace the existing ones in a more stable manner. So these are the typical type of applications that users are dealing with.
And what future applications do you envision for climate?
Well, certainly everything related to green technologies. I think that's, as I mentioned earlier, that's the big goal, that's the big motivation that we all have. So these kind of experiments and these kind of topics that we were referring to, like carbon capture, energy conversion and storage, and all sort of environmental protection kind of studies, that's really where everything will head towards, I believe.
Yeah. All right, so that concludes the end of this interview. I'd like to thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
Congratulate you and the entire team on winning the Microscopy Today 2021 Innovation Award for the DENSsolutions Climate system.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.